Thank you. Thank you so much, Phil, for that introduction. And thanks so much to you. I want to also thank Marcia and Paul and to the Ventura County Poetry Project for hosting this reading tonight. I'll start by reading poems from Litany of Flights, and then I'll read some newer work as well. So here's the book. Litany of Flights often explores nature and relationships and contemplates the human condition and the spiritual journey as well. The book is interested in the many forms of light and in what we see, what we don't see, and how we come to see. The first poem I'll read is On the Efficacy of a Prophet. The ocean hushes and hums in my blood. The moon takes up more of my eyes each night, swelling sliver of revelation that turns and hides. What I want to know is whether those luminous tendrils break the surface. Why so fractional this iridescence? She brims and brims but cannot overflow. What I suspect is this: the moon is a sibyl, whispers which she does not fathom. She dresses in stolen silk. She glides and foreshadows and slides away at first hint of the eclipsing dazzle. What I see glaringly, the sea rushes with every spray of blue, green gleam of glass, break of cobalt, bitter brine. The waters draw breath from the sun, yet the moon holds her tidal sway. Globes of pearl take on the shimmer, waters pile high for her. What I hear in the deep, she is royal messenger, gentle ray, and what she speaks bends the burn. What she beams flickers plunder, the little words of the sun I can bear. Thank you. This next poem is a persona poem spoken in the voice of Penelope of the Odyssey, who waited something crazy like 20 years for the return of her love. This is Penelope at her unweaving. I feel it coming like a welting bruise, a purple tentacle of cloud, high tide. How naive to believe the castle would stand. Our sandy words carved rooms only we knew, a moat to keep us safe, the rhythmic rushing in and out of the very thing that would erode the golden bones of the palace we made together. Salt-drenched years falter, in your absence suitors slaver. My shuttle stammers, unravels, dumbly speaking the damage. You paid a traveling potter to throw a bowl for me. The glaze hardened into the swirling green and gray glimmers of a winter sky. I could never take a spoon to the pretty vessel you left behind to feed me. It gleams its distant glints and starves me. I feel it coming like a vision, deja vu of dark washing waves of grief that crest with the moon, particles of what was firm drifting in the sea, separated and meaningless in the separation. The castle once, now shattered, scattered motes moving with the flick of a fishy tail. Leagues and shipwrecks and continents apart, suspended in the very thing that destroyed us. The drowning all dream my dream, a turn of tide between us, a windswept beach, a clean start, a fevered hope to awaken to the dream, carried home by the very thing that can save us. Thank you. Thanks. So I have in my backyard one particular maple tree that always seems to wait until this time of year, until February, to lose its very last leaves, which somehow makes it appear even more bare and stripped by the end of the month, which inspired this next poem. This is what it looks like. This is what it looks like when the fiery chariots of the sugar maple rush sky high, when their mama's candle flames out, gray, winter bared trunk like an aimless wraith. The one who gave, burst out in buds, cradled her cleaving shoots, the one who watered her sprouts, rain or no rain, each wrestling moment of feast, the one now nakedly windswept. February hearts have come and gone, been put away in the cardboard box. Who will the cupids come out for now that her little fires have taken leave? Like Elijah, gone in a blazing red swirl, matured, assured, caught up, flying away, broken away from her branches, fluttering soft goodbyes, thrilling to what comes next. In their wake, this is what it looks like: cold bark stripped smooth, roots holding earth, boughs holding nothing at all. Thank you. I love red-tailed hawks, and this next poem, Transmission, includes an image that will be very familiar to all of you those of you who do live here in Southern California, hawks floating over the freeway. Transmission. Red-tailed vortex of air spiraling above the freeway, shimmering heat of 1,000 valley vehicles pulsing a signal. Midday thermal currents invite a dozen wheeling hawks. A kettle organizes like a ladder of angels, a summons to float freely, immersed in the higher home. My longing, a grounded bird, thrashes against the metal and traffic, but they rest on wings of another for a little, soar on the flow, talons and beaks above and below, on tongues of exhaust. They glory round the cell tower, disguised as a too emerald, too stiff palm. They ring the blue finger of God. The transmission requires a path, my displaced breath of words, the updraft, a wrestling reach sunward, carried high and higher. The warmth, the movement, the center builds, a wafting whole, a transient channel, permeable gyre of connectivity, a sky road even wingless eye could take. Open the roof, give my eyes to the dazzle, repeat like a mantra, like Dorothy in Oz, like Mary of Bethany, repeat the need for only one thing. Thank you. The last poem I'll read from Litany of Flights is The Color Ultramarine. The color ultramarine, a hue beyond its own shores, the color of for and ever, of longing, of portal, a wave gathering, swelling in unseen depth, single-hearted, beyond tide, ocean, this world, beyond blued teeth of the conch, pulse of surf, of salt and vein, the cerulean rim of horizon, the boundary between us, yet celestial riptides carry me closer. So precise your particle and wave, crest and trough, spectrum in the aqua spray, and marine glow of deep, the color of aliveness, of gaze from afar, of washing with tears, of being known, of diving and swimming in circles, a blue flame in my soul, electric. Set me as a seal on the sky of your arm, lift me into belonging. You know the sapphire vaults above and below. You know where to find me in amplitude infinite and ultra finite, lapis lazuli crushed. Take the measure of my breaths rushing in and out, breakers build and crash. If only I could sprint this sea, scale this light, saturated blue, my passage to you. Thank you. Thank you all. The new manuscript I'm working on focuses on intersections of the human person with the physical world or universe. And I'd like to read a selection of these poems. The first poem involves a Cyphonophore, which is a long sea creature actually made up of a colony of organisms. This is heart as Cyphonophore. The researchers had imagined it, whipsawing through silty sleeves. The giant Cyphonophore sea worm of such ghostly fiber and length, it would take hours to watch it pass. The writhing blue bioluminescent skin of it simultaneously here and far. Now they witness it, photograph it, stare at the improbable, slithering 150-foot figment, remitting in a quantum state, the floating bell of head so distant from the end of its colonized chambers that the steadiness steers far from the fret. Stingers jostle in the eerie suck and ripple of its path. Now, prea dubia, leap and swim forward with sureness. Now, wind sideways in uncertain fatigue. The head arrives in an Australian oceanic canyon while the tail trails in a different time zone. So far from true cadence of itself, two places at once. There, the water glows aqua in your presence, and here, the long, thin muscle still heaving, reaching along the night-drenched bottom. Thank you. Some of these newer poems involve space, and the subject of this next poem is the dark rift, which is that long, wide swath of dark nebula that runs lengthwise through the Milky Way. The poem also mentions the Incas, who made constellations out of the dark spaces in the sky rather than the stars like we do. This is the dark rift. To read and reverse, by contour and correspondence, the cupped wingspan of partridge alighting by the celestial river to drink brightness from the Milky Way, blazing cascade in contrast to the dusky edge which knifes sideways through starlight. The Incas translated the shadow spaces. The dark rift carves absence and image, the thirst of bodies. A llama mother and baby panting, tongue of fox, toad splayed mid-leap, snake arrowing to sparkle of all that pours dazzling and good. The silhouettes only, but we know them, we name our own longings and those empty places in the night sky. Parched mouths open wide in a pattern that tells of hidden hollows. How we desire to be known, even just in outline. How we ache to form that precise imprint, dark nebula cradling new stars in the secret constellation of another's heart. Thank you all. This next poem is just kind of a fun retake on the mythological Psyche. It also involves another sea creature, the vampire squid, which has the ability to light up the ends of its arms. So Here is Psyche as vampire's squid. She'd like you to believe she's dangerous as a matter of self-preservation. She sharpens each spike for the deep sea cosplay, inverts the collar of skeletal spines, but it's all a big show for the predators. She tricks her ink colorless, throws in a pinch of bioluminescence in a classic defense response to snatch eyes to twinkle lights while she flees. But you, she'd like you to believe she's harmless. She wants to see you, wants to know who she loves there in the dark. She holds a candle or glint of knife at the end of every arm, warm allure just for you. She is neither octopus nor vampire, but she thirsts for what's under the skin. She'd like you to see the Cupid you've become. She'd like to sink into your soul. Thank you. The next poem was actually written for an anthology based on wrecked photography negatives. This one specifically of a bird of prey. This is Eagle Nebula. As with all things, perfect capture eludes the usual techniques. The darkness of outstretched shoulders feathers the negative space with silhouette of who you might have been, while the beak obstinately tilts, triangulates to the ringing cloud of protostars. You've tried lens and filter to blot the brightness, bring up the contrast, penetrate the gloom. Even so, the stellar spires evade you with smoky green overexposure, soap bubble stars. She came for you, but the transparency failed. Now you can only long for her, the eagle arching across the cosmos, too brilliant, too obscure to seize in time. Hawk over the ridge, moon below horizon, milky tresses dropped down out of your reach. This happens too often. This happens your whole life. But this time, by damage or design, the image wedges aquamarine. This time, the leaking light converts to nebular glow and wing. The decay slumps, not yours to carry. This time, the seeping salvages the splendor, your swimming flight reversed. Okay. Thank you all. Okay, this short poem is a little closer to home here in Los Angeles. It's about Ophelia from Hamlet, and I read it by special request of my daughters. This is Ophelia in Los Angeles. She would think better of it. She would shed the capsizing layers of skirt. She would wedge cut the tresses, say good riddance to tangle. She would get herself to an ice creamery or brewery. She would know every nursery and flower shop on the boulevard, choose roses over rue, plant giant chrysanthemums in the yard. She would rock out to her own breakup song. She would own a good wetsuit. She would tell him about the other fish in the sea, then dive the waves and glide. The last poem I'll read tonight is Longing as Dark Matter. But before I do, I just want to thank you all so much for coming tonight and listening to these poems, especially my friends on the East Coast where it is really late. So thank you. This is Longing as Dark Matter. the most rending, most revealing, most propelling substance, driving us with sugared whip of desire. And the astronomers say this lack makes up the vast majority of matter or matters in the universe. And I think they must know how to send instruments into space to track it. They must know how to isolate the absence which pulsates in bones, aching for what they need or think they need, in the marrow, which sucks everything out of orbit. The astronomers know how to extract information from astrophysical objects, make them spill the truth, detect proof in the way the stars sway in unison, in the way the universe bows and bends aside to allow for the ghost of it to pass. We can measure the gravitational effects on surrounding matter, on blood vessels, pupils, airways, pulse rates, tear ducts. We can observe it slashing a hole right through. Astronomers stalk their prey covetously, track the prints of its wild and ruthless ricocheting. It has been searched for intensely and never seized. Only the telltale damage left behind in the wakes, ripped and constellations, the unseeable fault lines in the soul, keening the shrill want to know, to touch, to have. But so invisibly it pierces the fabric of being with an arrow that is phantasm of fire, thrusting fire into fire that already burns slow in the lamp of every star. Thank you all.